You were talking a lot about job creation, of course, and growth. And today in Hampton Roads is furlough day. A lot of people are having to take furloughs for the first time. What would you say to them today?
Yeah, and we have this in Northern Virginia. I have it in my own family, and that is, without losing a job, cutting deeply into people's earnings, which is going to affect their behavior, their spending, and it is going to have ripple effects. It's already having ripple effects across both the Northern Virginia and Southeastern Virginia economies. What I would tell those folks is, look, we're trying to lay out a plan that, if I'm elected, will help generate other economic opportunities. I met some of these folks like this, out in the Shenandoah Valley, and we were talking about their furloughs. It was a couple who started their own business because they needed to fill that gap. They needed to make a little bit more money so they could make ends meet. And as she said to me, look, we haven't had a weekend to ourselves in over 2.5 months, which is when they started getting the furloughs. But they're committed to trying to drive economic opportunity for themselves, and we're committed to letting them keep a little more of that money so that the furloughs don't hit them as hard. And in their case, in the case of this couple that started their own business, so they have some capital to reinvest and can hopefully grow some other jobs here in Virginia. So we need to diversify, and to do that, we need to encourage reinvestment and job creation.
Also a big day in court in Richmond. First, let's just get your opinion on the news of the weekend, which was at first that Governor McDonald was going to be resigning, stepping down, then that he wasn't. Should he?
Well, I don't think it's news when it's just kind of rumors blowing up there, and that's not the kind of thing that, as an attorney general, I comment on. So we'll see how that develops. It's a disappointing situation, to say the least. But as rumors blow up for anybody. That's just not the kind of thing that I think is appropriate to comment deeply on.
Schneider's attorneys had mentioned they thought you should have stepped down from that case or recused yourself much earlier because of your relationship with Johnny Williams at Star Scientific. How do you respond to them?
Every decision made by our office when we had that case was absolutely appropriate, and I think we'll find when the judge issues her ruling, presumably today, basically addressing these sorts of concerns, how the court feels about it, which is ultimately what matters the most.
If this goes on to trial, there's been speculation that some things could come out that could be damaging, especially to a campaign that close to Election Day. Are you worried, and how are you?
I'm not worried. I mean, this isn't related to me, so it's the case will take the course it should. My main concern as an attorney general is simply that the truth be brought out.
So nothing will come out about your involvement that you may have taken?
Well, there is no involvement other than, so there's nothing to come out.
Okay. Finally, let me ask you about tolls, another big, we talked about potholes here, but tolls is the other huge issue for a lot of folks living in Hampton Roads right now. And you know about the lawsuit, which
I do.
Yeah.
Yes.
What can you say today about?
Well, that one is probably going to be decided at the end of October.
Right.
Bob's going to hear on property rights here in early September. I expect that we will learn about the Portsmouth case at the end of October, beginning of November. And, fundamentally, we're defending what VDOT has done there, and it's certainly legally appropriate. I think in a region where you have as much water as Southeast Virginia has to contend with, tolls are a very different sort of question than they are up in Northern Virginia, for instance, where we just opened toll lanes alongside free lanes on the Beltway. And in my view, they're working very, very well in terms of traffic movement. And we're going to have another example of that opening in the middle of 95 in Northern Virginia, but that's not the only alternative. I think it's much more problematic as a matter of policy, not as a matter of law, to only have available toll options for crossing water. And as a policy matter, I think that's the big problem there. So, and especially when there's only one in the whole region, so there's a feeling of being singled out, and I certainly am very sympathetic to that concern. And that's one of those things that I think that the governor's made a decision. He's got to stick with it now. Otherwise, we're going to get stuck literally holding the bag for hundreds of millions of dollars as a Commonwealth. But I think there's a better way to go about doing that. And we'll
We'll
be
be
talking about that when we roll out our transportation proposals. So, thank you all.
Mr. Attorney General, why did you decline to participate in the legal limit voters debate?
Oh, the left-wing stacked debate? Yeah.
It's left wing stacked.
Well, you've got a MSNBC is the proposed folks running it. We've proposed 15 debates in the regions. I think of greater relevance to people down here is why won't my opponent come to Hampton Roads? And nobody questions whether the chamber is going to pick sides one way or the other in one of your local papers, perhaps not yours, but you know, that's a localized Virginia-focused debate by Virginia-focused organizations in a region. And there's a reason I think we ought to be out in front of every community in Virginia, because the issues here in Hampton Roads are different than they are in Danville, or different than they are in Roanoke, or different than they are in Fairfax. And you know, for my opponent to try and cherry pick who's running the debate, as opposed to simply getting around and getting in front of Virginians all over the Commonwealth and to address their local concerns, I think is just very inappropriate. And it's obviously a game by a guy who thinks proposing debates, neutral debates, is something of a gimmick.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.